Hello everyone, my name is Sonny Herman. I'm with cmh3studio, and today we're going to do a tutorial on codoozer, and this tutorial is focused on databases. So let's get our PowerPoint ready. How to use databases in your app. So what we're going to go over is using a JSON database. We're going to find out how you can access it using your codoozer app that you're going to create. How do you display lists of those records in that database? How you display them individually. We're going to go over the visual illustration once again of codoozer, so you just get a good understanding. I keep showing this one every time, but it's important to kind of get an understanding of how these pieces work together in codoozer. And then the last part, we're actually going to demo an app I'm working on. It's called Hump Day Haiku. Alright, so here's the visualization again. Remember that codoozer is comprised of resources, components, views, and wrappers. The resources are the files that you are going to use in your app. They could be image files, video files, audio files, and databases. You call those resources by using components like image components, text components, and we're also going to use the list component or database component and use a list. The views hold the components and the wrappers hold the views. So, adding a database to codoozer. One of the first things you're going to do is after you log into codoozer.com, you will start your new project. I've already started this project. It's called Hump Day Haiku. And when you come to the first screen, you come to the app screen, the JSON app screen. And this is where you will define your database right here. You will give it an ID. In this case, I called it Haiku DB. The type of database this is, you can do CSV or JSON. In this case, I did JSON. And then you just reference that source, and that source is actually in your resources. So I created a file initially, got it in Notepad here, and this is it right here. This is the you'll see this also in the JSON file here, but this is the JSON notepad, or the notepad I started with, and I created this JSON that has 4 elements. Has an index, has a date, has the actual text of the haiku, and the person who wrote it, the person I'm going to credit. And I did about 8 of these, starting with 0 and ending up with index number 7. What you do is you just drag and drop that right onto the resource file, and it saves it right here. So here's that same text file now in the database, now in the app. As you can see, it's already put together, and when you start your defining, you just want to say what is that resource, and I'm just displaying it right there. So in this app, I use a local JSON database. It's called haiku.json, and I dropped it right into my resources file right here. And there's a blow up of just one of the records. Alright, so this is kind of like the same screen I just showed you, the app screen where I'm defining it in the database. I'm giving it an ID. You're going to reference that ID later, so it's important to remember what that ID is. Put it in the app screen, and that's the data source. This name right here will be the data source later. Alright. Database tips. Database can either be CSV or JSON. Codoozer can access local databases and cloud databases. This tutorial does not go over cloud database, but we'll do that in a future one. We'll probably use the same app and do that later. Alright, so how do you list your items in the database? So let me go over to my views and let's go to listing. And let me minimize this and start here. So I created a group, I gave it a background, and here is the function right here, list. And then when I reference my data source, I'm referencing the ID that I gave right here when I define my database there. And when I do that, that tells codoozer, I want you to go get a list of the database haiku.json with the ID haikudb and list those out. So how do you get the actual list where it shows you the fields and stuff? In this PowerPoint right here, you can kind of see, here's my screenshot example from my Android emulator that's got the column date and the column haiku. So that field date, or how you get that value back, is you have to use the word field in your database or JSON array, and then you just say it's a text component type and call that field whatever it's called in your database. So I'm saying I want that field, right? Where did it go? There's the list and there's the field right there. And if I go back to here, I can say give me the haiku field. If I scroll down, I've got another field, and I say it's haiku, text type. Oops. There's an undo feature there too. Alright. So that was listing of the fields. Sorry, I was brain kind of froze there for a minute. Alright, so back onto the PowerPoint. So here's a blow up of that same field there. I'm going to do a list type. I'm going to reference my data source as at database dot ID, whatever ID I gave it. Use the type list, and my data source is database.haikudb. As you go to the next screen here, what I did differently on this view is I just wanted to show a single record. So let's go to database, view. This is just a single view. And as you can see in the visor that I've got three fields that I bring back. I bring back the date, I bring back the haiku field value, and I bring back the credit value. And so how I did that is I created a group. I said I want to give a text type, text component type. That source of that text component is the record from the database haiku. And I'll talk about property.number here in a minute. I was doing some testing, and I was trying different things where I could pull different values from the database, like record 1 versus record 5 versus record 8. So that's what that is, but it works the same way. So there is the date value one. There's the source, another text file, another text component, and this time I source it and say it's the haiku value. And then the last one down here is the credit one. And then there's some navigation at the bottom, which I planned on going back and forth on some things. So here's a blow up of that. I use the source parameter to call my individual records that I want to display from the text component. And in this example, I do it 3 times. I go get the date by going to at database.haikudb, which is the ID for the database, for this JSON database. The property number is actually the index. Maybe I should show you that. This is this index being 0, 1, 2, 3. What I do is when I first start the app, if I scroll all the way to the bottom, you'll see what I do here. I set the property number to 0. And so when it starts off, it's always at 0. And then when I do the showing of the value, I just say, in this case, it would start off at 0. And then if I change it to 1, it'll show me the second record in the Haiku database. If I changed it to 2, it would show me the third record, which would be that one right there. So actually, let's go into the Android emulator. I'm going to do a quick export, and hopefully I didn't break anything while we were doing that demo. And I'll do another video here shortly about rapid prototyping, because that's what you're going to do a lot of in codoozer. And of course I broke something. Let me see what I broke. What was I on? Listing. I think it was on listing. Let's take a look. Nothing like doing it on the fly. Field. On click. Let's just try it again, see if we still get that error. If not, we'll figure it out. Actually, I think I got a good working copy that I'll just pull in from before. So this is Nox. It's an Android simulator or emulator, and what I'm doing is I've just before this video I was done with my editing and I got my latest version of it. And so this emulator lets you basically take that APK export and bring it into your software, your emulator software. So this is the app on the emulator. And so the one I was going to show you was the listing of all the haikus. And here they are here. And if we go back to our JSON, we see that they are right there. And I got it, when you click on it, it takes you to the individual version, which is on database right here. So it has the date, it has the haiku, and it has the credit. You can also get to that from going right here. I've got a little definition page right there, kind of tells you what the definition of a haiku is. I haven't worked on the submit your own yet. This is going to be some text fields that the user can put their own haikus in there, and that'll be fun for people to do. But this is basically it. This is the calling of the database. It's calling back records. And then this is the list of the database calling back different records. And that is it. It's a short one today, guys. I hope you learned a little something from it. If you do, if you feel like subscribing, please do. If you're on library, don't forget to follow and support the channel if you could. Anything that you can do would be appreciated. Again, my name is Sonny. I'm with cmh3studio, and hopefully we'll get to talk again. Have a good night.